Today, we're gonna go over something so important, and it has to do with sewing, of course, and that is how to change the needle on your sewing machine. I'm also going to go over how often you should be changing your needle and what kind of needle should you be using for your project. We'll follow along, and I'm gonna go over everything with you. First things first, let's go over how to change the needle. No matter what brand of sewing machine you have, changing the needle is going to be universal on all of them, unless you have an industrial machine. That's a whole nother thing. So grab your screwdriver, and I'm gonna show you exactly where you need to twist and turn to get that needle out of the machine. So you're going to need your screwdriver. If you have a multi-purpose tool, this is gonna work out great for you as well. If not, no big deal, you don't have to have it. If you do have this multi-purpose tool, you want to take the needle and stick it in the hole on the end. And this is just going to hold the needle so it doesn't fall into the very bottom of your sewing machine. Otherwise, you can just use your fingers to hold the needle. Now what we're going to do is unscrew this screw right here. You might have a little knob, a little screw. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So we're going to take it and go left to make it loose. So I have my screwdriver on there, and I'm just going to pull it towards me. And then the needle is going to get loose, and then we can pull that right out, that easy. Before we put the needle back in, you need to identify the sides. So this side here has a flat back, and if we flip it over, you'll see that this side is rounded, so it has a dome on it. So the flat side is gonna go towards the back, and the dome side comes towards the front. I also want to point out that the front of the needle has this little groove in the front of it, kind of like a canoe. And this is for the thread to lay into it before it goes into the eye of the needle. And what I mean by the front is the part of the needle that is facing you while you're sewing. So the dome side of the needle and the groove are going to be facing towards you. So you can use your fingers or the multi-purpose tool to get the needle back up in the hole. So flat side to the back, and it's really important to make sure you're pushing the needle all the way up into the machine. Go ahead and tighten it. And make sure you're not He-Man strength tightening this, because those little screws will snap off. You just need it tight enough so that way it's gonna hold the needle in here. We don't want it so tight that it's gonna pop that screw off, which I've totally done before, so be careful. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you subscribe to Sewing Anastasia and hit the notification bell so you know when all the new videos come out. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for watching today. Now let's get back to talking about needles. Wasn't changing a needle easy? So easy. So don't be afraid to change your needle because it is super easy to do. And now you're probably wondering, how often do I need to change my needle? Well, sometimes you'll hear someone say you need to change it for every single project. And I think that's overkill. I don't think you need to change your needle out for every single project. But you do need to listen to your needle and watch your needle and take a look at it. So if you hear the needle puncturing through the fabric, it is time to change that needle. And if you start seeing little runs pull in your fabric, well, I hate to say it, but it's a little too late for you to change the needle because it's already ruined your fabric. But what you can do to check your needle is take it out and rub your finger on the needle. Do you feel any burrs or any edges on it? And take a look at it. Does it look crooked? If it looks crooked at all, then it's time to change the needle as well. So last time I was home visiting my mom, I was using her sewing machine because I'm always sewing something. And the needle sounded like it was really puncturing through the fabric. And I was like, Mom, when's the last time you changed this needle? She said, I've never changed the needle on the sewing machine. It about blew my mind. I was like, what? Oh my gosh, so I changed the needle for her. And I might add that the sewing machine wasn't that old. It was about a year old, so it hadn't been like 15 years or something. But still, a year is quite a long time to not have changed your needle if you're sewing quite often. So you also need to change your needle when you're changing into different fabrics or a different type of technique. There are so many different types of needles out there, and I know it can get really confusing. So a universal needle is great for just about all projects. So I love using a universal needle. They generally will go through woven fabrics and knits. So the big thing you really need to look for also is, are you sewing a woven or are you sewing a knit? If you're sewing a knit fabric, you need to make sure you're using a ballpoint needle, so that way it goes in between the little knits of the fabric. Generally, a sharp needle will bounce back off of the little knits, and you'll see a lot of skipped stitches when using a sharp needle on knit fabric. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't, and if it's not, that's why. you need to put on a ballpoint needle. Now you can buy needles in different thicknesses. So the heavier your fabric, the thicker your fabric, the thicker needle you want. You want a stronger needle. If you're sewing a really thin silk, you want a thinner, sharper needle. So the bigger your fabric, the bigger the needle. The smaller your fabric, the smaller the needle. So you can think about it like that. There are a lot of specialty needles on the market as well. I really like the metallic thread needle because it has a bigger eye opening for the metallic thread, so it doesn't put as much stress on it, so that way it sews very smooth. I also love the new Teflon coated needles. These are great if you're sewing some funky things like pleathers and bonded fabrics or a sticky Velcro. It's gonna go in and out of the fabric super smooth and it's not gonna get stuck. So if your sewing machine is having a hard time with a certain fabric, you might want to look into all the different specialty needles out there because there might be one for your exact project that you're working on. Thanks so much for watching Sewing Anastasia today. If you have any questions about needles, leave it down below and I will get back with you as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video today, give it a thumbs up, give it some applause, and leave a comment down below. What is your favorite needle to use on your sewing machine and how often do you change your needles? I would love to know that, and I'm sure everyone else would as well. Don't forget, I also teach sewing classes in my design studio in Chicago, Illinois, and I teach them virtually, so check those out at sewanastasia.com. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.